This week's challenge was quite a monster, so let's just dive straight into cleaning up each of the inputs first before we discuss how to schedule these gates, allocate them to the correct flights, etc. So in our stands dataset, then we just have information about which stand is related to which gates, so which stand can be accessed from which gates. So we see that for the majority of them, say if we look at stand 3, it has a couple of options, but these remote stands, these 10, 11 and 12, they can all be accessed by any of the gates. There will just be a bus ride included, which is something that we want to minimize the amount of time spent on the buses for. But to get this information into a more usable format, we're going to want to split up this access by gates field and pivot it so that we're left with a row per gate and per stand. So, we've just got one in each row. Then we want to bring in that information about how long it takes to get between the stands. So in our remote stands data set, then we have the gate and the time on the bus it would take. So we've just filtered to only have the stands which require a bus ride. We're joining them, and then we're just unioning them back to those that don't require a bus ride at all. And then we're just doing, this would have been a null when we first unioned them together, because obviously there's no time to reach stand in the data set where there are no bus rides. So we just change the null to a 0 so that we have that nice information for us, because 0 minutes is the same as does not require a bus ride. So then we just do a little bit of cleanup before we do some more joining. So in our other data sets, our stands are just numbers, a numeric field, so we get rid of the letters. So we do the cleaning and we remove the letters. That's not going to show up for me because it's a numeric field, but I'm sure you catch my drift there. And we change it to be a number. We do the same for gates at a later step. But let's just check out this stand allocation data set that we need to clean up. So first of all, we need to change this time field, which is currently a string, into an actual time. So in order to get the date through, because we can see if I just expand the connection pane here, that we have our date in our sheet name. So we use our union step just to bring through that table name so that we can use a little bit of regex to extract the date. So I'll take it step by step here. So we use the regex to extract that date. The expression that I've used here to get that out, I'll just zoom in quickly for that. So it's just anything between the S and then there's a space and a space, and we have an AM at the end. That's probably not the best regex, but it certainly works in this scenario. We add together the date and the time just to make it look like this, so that then we can use a date pass field with just the hashes in between the day, month and year, and then our time is structured like that. So that's all nice and simple to get that into the right format. We just get rid of a couple of fields, and then we think about the fact that with our flights, then this is the time that they are needed from. So this is when boarding would begin, and then we know that we need it to be occupied until 45 minutes. So basically we need to just add on 30 minutes there, so that each of the slots which go in 15 minutes, 3 of those are allocated to each flight. So we've joined those two data sets together now. We've kind of got all the information about the flights, what stands they're at, what gates they can access, and how long it would take to get from a gate to a stand if necessary. So then we look at our gate availability step here, or data set if you like, and we've got the gate and we've got all of the different times, and at the moment all the gates are available at all these times that we're looking at. So we're just going to do a little bit of scaffolding here so that our date is between the time that it starts and the time that it's needed until. So this just means that we're going to make 3 rows for every single flight, for every single gate option, so that it will always fill up those spaces, and that just makes it easier going forwards. We do the scaffolding once so that then all the joins we make later can just be equals. So just to keep track of that there. then we're kind of going into our first possibility. So we can see, if I scroll along to my flights, that some of these have 3 rows, and that means that they only have one gate possibility. If I click on it, you can see that only one gate is highlighted, and therefore we can assign these flights to these gates, take them out of the mix, and sort of start building up this gate availability dataset. So we do that by using a fixed LOD to calculate the number of gates per flight, and we keep just those that only have one gate per flight in this filter here, or we exclude those flights from the clean step here. We go through to join them on to our gate availability, making it a right join so that we still keep all the information about those which are free, that we haven't used up yet. We do a little bit of cleaning up here. So we're just making that join so that we can check for all of our flights that have not been assigned yet, has one of their possible gates been assigned to another flight at that time, and then we filter those options out. So that now we can have a check of our data set again. We could perform that LOD to check, but we can just do a visual check here to see that, okay, all of my flights have more than 3 rows, which means that they have more than one option of what gates they can be assigned to. So therefore, we can't do the same iterative process again. We'll have to do something different. So in our list of our process we should follow, then the next thing to do is to assign all the remote stands to the gate which has the least travel time from the gate to the remote stand. So we filter to just be including those flights which are at a remote stand, so they require a bus yes. And then we join this to our data where we've got already assigned gates. We do a sort of similar process where we're just kind of merging together fields, cleaning it up a bit, making sure that everything's lining up correctly. We do an aggregate step just to group on the flight number so that we can join that back to our data set of unassigned flights just to make sure that no flights are sort of continuing through that process. And then again, similarly, we join back to our assigned gates data set and we filter out those which those gates which have already been assigned. Then we're coming to our next step and we're saying, okay, let's have another look at, our flights. Have any of them got any 3 rows? Oh, look, they do. So we can go through that grouping step of only one possible gate of assigning that. So that's just exactly the same as if I zoom out. We are here. That's just exactly the same as this step. Grouped steps here. So we just repeat that process and then we come to see how many flights we've got left. Okay, we've still got 4 flights left to assign. We can see that they all have 2 possible gate options. So what do we do? This is where it comes in that we need to be looking at our remote stands accessibility file again. And what we're going to do is we're going to create an order to assign the leftovers, which is basically just doing a ranking based on the time to reach the remote stands in descending order, because we want to assign those which have the longest time to the gates first. So we bring that data set over, we join it on, we do some filtering, so we say that we want to assign our leftover flights in this order. So we do that filtering and we see that we've got sort of still, for our 4 flights, we only have 3 gates remaining. So these 2 flights are trying to access the same gate at the same time. So that's where we need to do our filtering based on the lower flight number. So we need to basically filter out PA 1209. And so we do that and we assign these 3 flights to the assigned gates. We do the aggregation to make sure that we only have that 1 flight left, which is here. And then we can see that we only have 1 flight and it doesn't have access to that other gate, so it will be assigned to gate number 4 instead. We join that back to our assigned dates dataset, and then we wouldn't have any flights left in our unassigned flights dataset. So we have our flight schedule. So hopefully that all made sense to follow. And please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.